to get the best for you and the best working conditions and working life for you, so you're not stressed, you're not, over the top, and work can actually be fun as well.
Our roles have changed so broadly since I joined, since I became a support staff 22 years ago.
At your school you've got 100% union membership.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Support staff, that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes, and how did you achieve that?
I think it's probably through word of mouth and explaining the benefits of the union to them.
Support staff in a school can be found everywhere. They keep the grounds beautiful, food in the canteen, the information technology working, the newsletter published, the accounts balanced, and they support children, families and staff in immeasurable ways. Without them, a school just wouldn't function. The IU has been working for many years to improve salaries and conditions in this often undervalued sector, and is now looking to expand and strengthen membership. Here's IU Organiser for Support Staff, Karen Reid.
As I've been involved with the IU, I can see that support staff have a great gamut, I suppose, in terms of their workload. There are people with triple PhDs, right down to people that are just doing some volunteer work and getting paid for it. But there is a great wealth of experience in support staff, and that goes back to the school community. Often support staff, because they're paid on an hourly rate, they don't often attend things like staff meetings or staff development days. And that becomes a bit of a problem. Support staff feel a little devalued because they're not part of that information gathering.
Support staff valued enough within a school community generally?
I think generally not so much. There are a lot of part-time support staff in our schools, both systemic and independent. Often it's part of a local appreciation, particularly with support staff that have been there for a long time. We've got our part-time staff and our casual staff with different functions that they do. I don't think the general community really appreciates the work. It's almost like they're behind the scenes. Come with me and I'll show you some things that the union have put together for support staff. With support staff, particularly those who are working part-time, if that currently in our economic climate where there's increased food bills, increase in our mortgage rates, we find that a lot of support staff are really trying to do maybe 2 or 3 jobs to try to make ends meet. It creates a little bit of a job insecurity in that at the end of the year they're not really quite sure whether they've got a job or not the following year.
Are they paid for holidays?
Support staff aren't paid for their holidays. Their wages are averaged. So if a support staff is working, say, 30 weeks a year, then they will be paid every fortnight, but it's only on an average of 30 weeks. So support staff are not paid for the non-term break. The IU have done some really groundbreaking work with support staff, particularly this year. They've employed 2 support staff project officers who now are going to schools and having special support staff consultative meetings within the school. We've also broadened our support staff advisory committee to represent all levels of school and all levels of responsibilities within the school. We've also done a lot of things in terms of occupational health and safety with this kit, Be Safe. This is for schools primarily, but it also addresses some of the issues for support staff, particularly the lab staff, grounds and maintenance, and the office staff. It's very important that support staff are part of the community of an educational process. That is, that they recognise their involvement with occupational health and safety.
And what would you say to those support staff at other schools who are really hesitant to join the union?
I would say don't hesitate at all. It's a great organisation to belong to. There's plenty of training opportunities. I'd like to see more training opportunities in the country, but this year I think we're going to see more of that happening.
At your school, you've got 100% union membership.
Yeah, that's
of-
wonderful. Support staff, that's wonderful, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
how did you achieve that?
I think it's probably through word of mouth and explaining the benefits of the union to them and their rights at work. And we have a union organiser that's quite active within the school to explain the role of the union to them.
And what kind of rights are you finding that people aren't aware of?
Their right to the fact that they're on an hourly wage, they're not a contracted person like a teacher, they're entitled to their half-hour lunch and they're entitled to overtime if they're asked to work outside their normal hours of work.
School. Our roles have changed so broadly since I joined, since I became a support staff 22 years ago. The whole role has changed considerably and I think our issues have grown.
Why did you join the IEU?
Because I've always believed in support is there for you, and if you don't support your union, they can't support you. The negotiation of our award has been tremendous. They've increased our long service leave. I mean, once upon a time it was a lot lower than it is now, and this is what current employees need to keep in mind, that there have been fantastic changes made just even in the 15 years that I've been on board. And just to continue with career paths for us and just being there to look out for us.
To get, I was moving around, travelling around, and I wasn't getting travelling allowances, so I used them to help me there. But also now we've had an Aboriginal education conference, so we got the IU to come and talk to some of my colleagues that are in other dioceses to say join, because with a voice we can do more for our children, and the IU is doing that for us. So that was the reason why I thought IU was a good way of getting out a lot more, and getting the word out a lot more.